Welcome to episode 102 of the Spokesmen Cycling Roundtable Podcast. As always, when we're here at Interbike, we do not have a roundtable, but it's really good to be with the Spokesmen. It's the Spokesmen Semicircle Podcast. Why do you always title the shows? Why do you always do that?
That's what I do.
It's bad. This is Tim Jackson. He's from Focus Bicycles. Say hi, Tim.
Hello, Tim. Oh, hello.
Sitting next to Tim is our good friend, Chris Smith from Minneapolis. From Lazer
helmets, yeah.
And you raced yesterday.
I did, and I'm paying the price for it today. But thank you for inviting me on.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Down at the end, from the National Bicycle Dealers Association, Rich Kelly.
Hello, hello.
Good to have you as always.
Good to be here.
And to my left, I think everybody knows who that is. From recreationlaw.com, say hello to Jim Moss.
Hello, fans, friends.
I told you to say hello to Jim Moss.
Hello, Jim Moss.
Hi. So it's Interbike. We are here in the Interbike Media Center. And because it's Interbike, we're going to go around the room, starting with Rich.
Yes.
The question for everybody, so be prepared. What have you seen that's not show and tell time? Hold it. Other than your show and tell, what have you seen that's interesting? What's new? Are there trends? What's the buzz?
One of the things that just comes to mind is I think e-bikes have finally established themselves. There's an outdoor area for the first time here at the show. They call it the paddock, where you can just like walk outside, take demo rides around the course. That's going to be the criterium course for tonight. And the amount of guys out there riding around on everything from like these electric downhill bikes now to the standard urban transport utility type of bikes, and zipping around and the smiles, and because it's like the perfect demo product. You hop on the bike, you do the first pedal stroke, and it just you feel like Superman.
But have they arrived as a consumer product, or are they just the perfect demo product that everybody's enjoying riding?
Well, the issue is, and for as long as I've been in the industry, so over the last 15 years, there's been this promise. Lee Iacocca came out with e-bikes are going to be the future. And I even heard from some of the major manufacturers, retailers says, I got on board with the Giant version a few years ago, and they discontinued it. Now what do I do to my customers? That system. But you've got companies like SRAM partnering with Electra initially. Big companies are going to provide confidence in the systems that are going to be ongoing. I know Panasonic, we've met with Panasonic engineers a few times. They're dedicated to the area and the space. LEVA, the Light Electric Vehicle Association, is doing certification programs every day, all day of the show. I mean, there's guys I've talked to from like Bicycle Habitat in New York City, big urban transportation-focused shop. They have guys that are sitting in those seminars from 9 until 4 every day getting certified on electric bikes. Shops are really starting to come on board. I know in your areas, you probably see it as well. E-bike stores just popping up all over the place. I think it's finally here.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with that. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Jim. We recently had our big sales meeting up in Washington State in August, and Focus, the global brand, that in Europe, they have 19 models of electric bikes. We don't bring any of them currently into the U.S. market, but during our sales meeting, the discussion came up, and my boss asked our sales force, of all sales reps, how many people here, show of hands, how many people here out of the reps have an interest in us bringing in e-bikes? I thought it was going to be the third rail and no one was going to touch it. And 80% of the room raised their hand because they are seeing the demand from the retailers. So if the retailers are asking them, that means consumers have to be asking the retailers, because retailers do not like to take gambles and be pioneers in a down economy. Yep. In a down economy, they're only going after what they know they can sell. And let's face it, this has been a down economy. Yeah. So that, to me, proves that there is some significant growth. And I'll be one of the first to admit that I thought it was going to be another 3 to 5 years before we saw the needle move as far as it has. It's been one of the fastest growing segments of the market this past year. I mean, our reps were like, please bring them in. Huh. And I was floored.
Frankly, I'm surprised to hear that as well.
Yeah. They've gotten really good. First of all, they're really easy to use. It's not an electrical engineering degree to be able to ride one of those bikes. It works really well. Second of all, think of all the places. Where I live, it's a 1,000-foot drop and 9 miles to downtown. So riding down to work is easy, but getting home for 90% of the people is going to be a miserable trip. Yeah. That bike is going to turn it around. They can actually ride to work, and they can ride home and not get home exhausted. with a 1,000-foot elevation gate, the whole Front Range, parts of Utah, Seattle, San
and still
Francisco,
get a workout.
Portland.
It's not turning the throttle and going like a motorcycle.
Some of them are pretty amazing, but yeah, you get to work out, but you get that assist to get that 1,000-foot up to get home.
I think the point is, you're right, Rich, but the point is you're not getting, as my grandmother would say, you're not getting schwitzed. You're pedaling, but you're pedaling easy because the bike is giving you that assist, and I think that's a big
You can show up at work without sweating.
Yeah. Well, a hardcore bike commuter, Fritz from Cyclicious would say, you don't have to sweat to bike commute. But the point is, a lot of us do. We're just used to, somebody got us into high cadence and we just never stopped. So there we were.
50s, 60s?
Yeah, right. Very good. What have you seen that's been a trend?
Folding bikes. There are probably a half dozen more folding bike manufacturers here. The big ones are here, Tern and DeHaan, but there's a lot more folding bikes out there. E-bikes, I agree. Other than that, it's interesting. The commuter bikes have sort of taken a little bit smaller profile, and I thought they would still be out there. And other than that, I'm still looking.
Okay. You guys are working booths, but I have a feeling you've talked. You maybe from your booth to the restroom and maybe the snack bar. Maybe you've seen something. But Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, Tim and I were talking about before we got started. Is we've been so busy in the booth. I mean, I can tell you what I've seen between our booth and the restroom and back, and that's about it. I guess from my personal experience, people coming into the booth talking about what we're doing with helmets, it's kind of been a progression over the last couple of years, but there has been a lot more interest in urban and commuter-style helmets in our booth in particular. So I see that as a trend. People are interested in helmets, at least dealers are interested in helmets that aren't specifically for performance cycling. They're more urban, commuter, lifestyle-type helmets. And so it's specifically what I've seen in the limited amount of the floor space that I've been able to traverse this year. Definitely, there's been an interest in the urban and commuter style products in general,
and interesting colors like orange.
Yeah, well, not just orange. I mean, we're offering all kinds of. We've got a wood treatment helmet. Yeah, high-vis yellow. Yep. So it's not that the product innovation is not what's bringing people specifically to our products, but yeah, it's definitely the cosmetics and the surface treatments, and that's what's attracting a lot of attention.
Tim?
I haven't really been out of my booth other than to make the mad dash to the restroom a few times. And we're over by a number of different e-bike type products. So that certainly skews my view of what I've been seeing. But I know just from speaking in general, there have been a lot more fat bikes than I thought we would ever see. Yeah. And the first day at demo, they were some of the most ridden products I saw out there were fat bikes. And
3 times as many.
When Surly first came out with the Pugsley, we all laughed and said it was such a circus bike, and yet the circus didn't leave town. Yeah. And now there's more fleas in the tent.
It took a while to get that.
It did. It's sort of like 29ers. It took a while to hit that mass.
But it seems like the momentum is just
continues
to snowball every single year.
I really can't put my finger on what it is other than fun, because there's only a small number of places where the true benefit of a fat bike is going to be real. Snow, ice, mud,
sandy
sand.
beach.
But people are riding them on their normal trails because it's sort of the new punk rock bike.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the brand, but there was a brand that was out there. I don't know if they're inside, but out at demo on Monday. I was only out there on Monday. That had a carbon 29er.
Is it Niner?
And a carbon fat bike. You threw me off when you said Niner. I had 9 in my head, but a carbon fat bike, and that thing was out there constantly. Huh. That and the drunken slobs on the three-wheelers out there. I was waiting for them to go sliding through the turn booth at any minute.
That was developed in my neck of the woods as a thing to do at bars. They would have bar races.
Yeah.
Okay, if you've had 1 beer, you're in category 1. If you've had 9 beers, you're in race 2.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so they were sliding all over the place out there.
So what I'm hearing from the conversation, not a lot of innovation. Not a lot of
I think there's a lot of
maturation.
But there's I think that what we're seeing is a lot of products that aren't necessarily designed for Ricky Racer. They're not getting as much of the buzz as a lot of the other products. I mean, we do a lot of high-end race product,
and
people are talking about it plenty.
Yeah.
Thank God. So I'm happy with our category and our slice of the pie, but I do think that it shows very good health in the fact that the market continues to diversify into areas that are not where we normally see ads in magazines.
That's
everybody does ads for their Halo products.
Yeah.
But you don't really see a whole lot of pedestrian products being advertised, but that's what people are talking about.
Sure.
I think that's healthy.
I was talking to several exhibitors here that you might call fringe, that have a few bike products, but they have an awful lot of other products. And they were both ecstatic to be here. The traffic was good. They were selling things. And they said that bike shops all of a sudden are looking beyond the normal bicycle products to sell in their store, that they have keychains or other things that are available that fit the lifestyle that may not have the bicycle branding on them. And there were two of those retail or exhibitors out there that were just happier and crap to be here.
Huh.
In fact, I haven't seen an exhibitor yet that isn't very happy with how the show's going.
They're happy to be here sitting down.
Yes.
Yeah. Which means that our booths are busy if we haven't had a chance to sit.
Yeah.
And I was saying that earlier, that for whatever reason, based on some of the intelligence that I gleaned before the show started, I had the idea that our booth would not be as well attended as it has been in years past. Just some reps said that they don't expect a lot of their dealers to show up. I just kind of got the idea that attendance was going to be down, and we've just been slammed for 2 days now with people that are influencers in some way, shape, or form in their shop, and they're really excited about
It's interesting because in other segments, in other industries, you hear, the trade show is dead. Mm-hmm. And then Interbike moved here, and everybody said, Interbike is dead. You're on the end of the strip. What do you want to be at Mandalay Bay? But the floor has been busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've been giving away a lot of beers this afternoon in a lot of booths because it's been busy. Tomorrow,
Consumer Day.
The consumers come. Thoughts?
We don't have any non-MSRP pricing on any of our products, so I feel better.
Okay.
Because that's usually the argument that everybody throws out when it's
Don't let them know what we pay
Consumer
for it.
Day,
Yeah.
is that there's the massive fear of giving out the wrong price list.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I don't have that
that's fear
I'm
number
very
one.
curious to see how much traffic we will have, since it is Interbike by invitation. In theory, only consumers who have been brought by another retailer will be here. Now, I haven't spoken to any retailers who have said, one of my customers is going to be here tomorrow. They're stoked to see your bikes. Yeah. I haven't heard anything. So I don't know if it's going to mean that at 2 or 3 o'clock, as usual, you'll hear the crickets chirping right before the walls start coming down and people start packing up their booth.
Yeah.
Or at 6 o'clock, we're all trying to push people out of the booth because they just want to go home.
The invitation got expanded. So anybody who attended the
Grand
cross
Fondo
last night
and
can
the cross
get in.
race.
And anybody who's riding the Grand Fondo on Saturday can get in.
And anybody who's a People for Bikes member.
People for Bikes members can get in without paying that $50. So that number went through the roof.
So does that expansion indicate that the retailers were not stepping up and getting invitations for their consumers, or does that mean...
Read between the lines.
Yeah. So I'm curious.
I'm
really curious to see what's going to happen.
I can't speak for the staff anymore, but from the retailer side, I think there was some misunderstanding of how the program worked. It was a late introduction, so the season had already started. At that point, you know what retailers are like once summer and spring roll around. So I don't know if there really was a clear, and I don't know how much marketing there was directly to the consumer to say, hey, this is available, go talk to your shop. I can't speak, but I don't know that side of it was that big. That's why they kept adding some more parties. But it's also a Friday.
I talked to 4 retailers.
Yeah.
2 of them laughed. One of them said something I can't repeat, even on the Spokesman, and the other one just shook his head.
So I talked to some retailers leading up to the show, and I said, so did you invite some of your consumers? And they went, huh?
Yeah. That's...
And so it may be a messaging issue. It also may be that they intentionally kept the tone of the message low and quiet to sort of make this a beta test year, if you will. Let's see how it goes.
Well, whether it was intentional or not, I think that's what they're going to get.
For you, it's difficult for somebody to walk out of because this is one of the other fear. It's difficult for somebody to walk out of your booth with a bike. That's going to be fairly noticeable. It's a little easier for somebody with a messenger bag to grab one of Chris's products put it in the bag, and they walk away. So it may be that this was the chance to. And we like to think the best of people.
Well, I did,
but this may be a test.
They did beef up security significantly for tomorrow. Yeah. I did hear that they are spending a lot more money for security. But then again, I mean, these aren't consumers that get in for free.
You're welcome.
The invitation consumers have to pay $50.
Right.
Okay.
The others have to pay $25. So it's not just off the streets. Everybody just.
I was also told today by somebody at Interbike that they're treating them like VIPs. There's a special place to check in. They're getting a swag bag, and not like, not like that little tube of green gel that we all get, to soothe our muscles after we do a ride, but like cool stuff. T-shirts, socks, mugs, I don't know about mugs, but some good stuff that people want. That's a great idea.
We don't get that.
What? Anyway, you were going to say.
Well, I was going to say they may be treating it as a pilot program this year to see how it goes, and if it's a success, expand it for next year.
Yeah.
And even regardless of the potential for loss of product, I mean, my personal feeling is I'm excited about the concept of a consumer day, and I always have been, because as a manufacturer, unless you're out in the field and you're creating events that you're getting involved in to interact with the consumers, you just don't have that interaction.
Yeah.
And especially for Lazer, we go through QBP as our distributor. We're a Belgian-based company. We don't have the opportunity to connect with consumers really at all. So an opportunity like this, I think is really valuable.
And it seems like everybody and their mother now has a helmet. So,
yeah,
you got a little bit of competition. So it's a nice way to get your message out there directly to a consumer.
Yeah, exactly.
I've specifically.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. You need to go.
I do need to get back into my booth.
I want to thank you for joining us.
I'm sorry I couldn't join the
Could you join us more often?
The band yesterday.
Now that you're here?
I always want to.
I know you do.
Yeah.
All right.
And now that show season is done,
you got all the time in the world.
I got all.
Yeah, sure.
I got all the time. I have time.
Yeah.
I think.
So slightly more time.
Have a great rest of the day. Have a great show tomorrow.
Thank you.
Come on the Spokesmen more often. It's good to see you.
Good to be seen.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. We're going to let Tim Jackson go. Tim, where can people find you?
They can find me at Focus Bikes tomorrow, and they can also find me at 2 Wheels and a Half a Brain, and Twitter at Tim Jackson. Yeah, I'm all over.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Awesome.
Bye, guys.
You were going to say?
I've been talking to retailers about this issue, and they've actually, several of them have started talking to me that know me and say, what about tomorrow?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of hesitation from the exhibitors out there as to what's going to happen tomorrow when the consumers come in. Most of whom just don't do any type of consumer show whatsoever. And they don't know what to expect. They don't feel like they got enough information on what's going on, and they're not set up to deal with consumers. They're set up to deal with retailers.
Be realistic. That consumers have been at the Interbike show for years.
Sure,
it's just that they've been badged as bike shop employees or some associate of some kind or
another. And they've been here the last 2 days, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what is the impact going to be? It may not be dramatic or even noticeable.
Right.
But
but change and the unknown are always exciting.
Right. Right. And I embrace it. I mean, I welcome it, and I look forward to seeing what it's like tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's why you have a great product, because you embrace change.
Let me ask you guys a question. I was walking,
and it fits heads.
Yeah, it fits big heads.
I was walking the show floor today, and this is a topic that we've been talking about show after show when we've been at Interbike, and walking the floor today, I walked by the Giant booth. We talked about this earlier. And I don't know how tall those numbers are. They're probably, 10, 12 feet tall, and maybe 6 or 8 feet wide. And it says 27.5. Huge in their booth. Now, a few years ago, we were saying, gee, is 29 inches going to last? Are people going to... So we started at 26 inches. We went to the 650B, the 27.5. Went to 29. Let's start there. Now let's add, we've got enduro, downhill, cross-country, gravel grinder. We talk on this show all the time about what do we do to get consumers excited, get them engaged in the business?
More tire sizes.
But I'm concerned that we're confusing them. And at some point they're going to go, I'll just go golfing. What do you guys think?
Golf clubs aren't confusing?
I'm not a golfer, so I don't know. But pick another sport.
Golf clubs are confusing.
Okay.
Well, tennis is not confusing.
Tennis.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in my opinion, the focus should be about the activity rather than the tool that you're using for that activity. it doesn't. I understand what's going on. People are looking to sell more bikes, and so if we create a new category, and everybody's going to want a bike that fits that category. But ultimately, you can ride a gravel race on a cross bike. You can ride a gravel race with most road bikes.
Yeah.
You need a bike called a gravel grinder bike in order to do those events? No. But you create that category, and all of a sudden, somebody who's doing those events, I see a need. I need to go buy a special bike for this event. So I understand the motivation from the industry standpoint, but it seems that the industry should promote the sport and the activity in general rather than create a new niche brand category, a niche that convinces somebody that they need to buy a bike specific for that particular activity.
Guys?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, innovation does help drive consumers out to the stores. It's something new to look at. I think more on the enthusiast level, the entry-level customer is not going to know the difference. So it's going to be up on, upon the retailer and the brands to communicate, what bike they should buy, why the bike is better, not necessarily focus on the wheel size. But I think it might be a moot point. I mean, 26s might be going away, although I did hear a comment. They have that man on the street in the show daily, and it was like, what tire size are you even... I forget what it was, but the guy said, I'm looking at 26s on e-bikes. It's like the last category left with 26 inches is the e-bikes, but it might just go the way of the dodo bird. I've heard a lot of shops that don't even stock 26-inch bikes anymore.
I think that the consumer looks at it as a sizing issue. And I think the shops just have somebody come in and they say, what size bike? And I'm looking to get in a mountain bike. And if they know, they say, I want a 29er or a 27.5. And if they don't know, they just see it as a sizing issue.
How tall are you?
There's 3 different size wheels, and we go with the wheel size, then we go small, medium, large, XL.
But that's fine. Okay, but then as we were just saying, what about the enduro and the cross country and the downhill and the gravel grinder and the cross
bike? The general consumer doesn't know about that. I mean, unless you're part of the industry, when are you going to learn about gravel grinder?
That's my point.
So why worry about it?
Because
until
at some
you
point,
get your third bike.
So then what's your first bike?
Whatever the shop says that you need to ride to accomplish the goals or desires that you have, and the shop thinks can get you to come back for a second bike.
So it's like skis. A lot of people will walk into a ski store. They have no idea what the difference is, and they'll just say, hey, Mr. Salesman, what do I buy? Well, what kind of skiing do you like? Well, I like this. Here's the ski you need.
Right.
This is the one for you. So it's a bit like that.
And if they do a good job, they've got a customer for life. And if they do a bad job, they've got somebody playing golf or tennis now.
Okay. All right. Show and tell time. Who wants to go first? So everybody knows.
3 times.
I asked everyone, bring something for show and tell. And so I was curious to see what everybody brought. Who's going first?
I'll go. I got more, so I'll start early. And this is just in honor of our good friend Byron, who's not here. I guess a couple of products.
He claims he lost his voice, but I don't know.
Well, regardless,
he was worried that Chris was going to beat up on him.
An ongoing topic.
I raced against Byron last night. I know exactly what his
voice
who
won. And it wasn't Byron.
Ongoing discussion on this show is the merits or the problems with Strava. Strava, one of the recent updates announced and launched for premium members, that it'll actually talk to you while you ride and announce the segments and your time as you go through the segments. Problem is,
King of the Mountain!
It does, and that's, we joke around about that because we have one guy who took a free trial for 30 days for the upgrade, and we can hear, he's got his phone in his back pocket, and you can hear, the talking in the Siri voice, and there's funny names too. I think people are going to have fun with the names now because it says the name of the segment no matter how weird it is, and it says a time, but it doesn't say, oh, hey, you're almost there. It doesn't really do much to the encouraging, but it's hard to hear. So I saw this Biologic makes some really just a simple little handlebar mounted, stem mounted speaker system to help you hear your Strava announcements and segments more clear, and so that your pack and your riding buddies can hear too. That's the important part.
Of course, well, that's the
and I've been on group rides where I've heard multiple at the same time as the whole group rides through the segment. So this lets your segment be heard louder and more clearly. So it just, with the rubber band system attaches underneath the stem, basically pointing up towards you. It's got a cable hooks into your. So
now that I fell out of light with all of that because riding with my brother here in the desert the other day, it was announced by one of the things I uploaded my information to that I was now in the top 10 for one section, which means either nobody else has ever ridden that section.
Was it downhill?
No, it wasn't even downhill. It was actually slightly uphill, but thank you. I am in the top 10, so no one's ever ridden that section, or the whole thing's a little funky. Just saying. Because we know I'm fast, but I'm not that fast.
Where did your brother end up?
I don't think he uploaded his information.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's too bad that we lost him because we could ask him when Focus is going to come out with their Strava bike.
Nice.
I think that's the next segment.
Yeah.
Is a segment for a segment-oriented bicycle.
My brother ended up in front waiting
You have
on
a
me.
Strava.
Is where my brother always ends up, waiting on me. So.
We're coming back to your next
No,
one.
I was just going to say,
okay.
just that's by Biologic, in case someone really wanted to jump. It's the Biologic Cycle Tunes.
Nice.
So.
Okay.
I've actually got 2.
Yeah, and what I love about no. Okay, because what I love about I'm just going to take this from you for a moment. This is Jim's, and I'm wondering where his
Speaking of Consumer
his
Day.
wire cutters are because I have a feeling he cut that out of somebody's booth. But
Yeah,
go
we're
on.
worried about consumers tomorrow. And here's Jim.
It's the lawyers you got to worry about, right?
It's
It's the lawyers.
My rep at this industry show right now is not good to begin with, okay? Let's not go into politics. So, I went to SRAM.
SRAM. There's no H in
SRAM.
that word. SRAM. Go ahead.
I went to SRAM, excuse me, and my good friend Chris Zigmont said, hey, we've got a new stem. It was made for Cavendish. It is the new carbon. It weighs 165 grams. It's just nothing. But what has amazed me and what's got you bugged is it's got a 12-degree negative drop in it.
Yeah.
And I can't see riding down 100 and some miles and then getting into the pedals and busting across the line the way
You're
he
not
does.
Mark Cavendish.
I'm not?
No, if you were, you would see it.
Hey,
But I also said,
I got this email said
Rich
I
is
was in
going
the
to say
top
the
10.
exact same thing I said. Go ahead.
I say, you're right. You should be on a Grand Fondo bike.
Right. But the other thing I told you is here. Now it's plus 12.
Yeah, and then I work for Piz.
Nice.
Or Diz. Well, I was going to say, depending on, I don't know. I don't do frame design, but maybe a stem with that angle allows you to do something with the head tube of the bike
Sure.
where you can change the head tube,
Yeah.
you bring it up or bring it down, and it changes the...
Well, that's
Just means my head's already lower to the
That's,
ground when I hit.
yeah.
And I hope your helmet's working better. You know?
Yeah.
So yesterday on the Good Morning Interbike show, I had Eric Hawkins from Park Tool,
Yeah.
50th anniversary, and I was telling him how much my favorite Park Tool is my Park Tool bottle opener. If you have one, you know what I mean. First of all, they're gorgeous, as Park Tools are, and it's got perfect leverage. Trust me, it's great. So he said, "Oh, you're going to really love our new product for this year." So that's my show and tell. It's the Park Tool Spork.
Nice.
That's my show. I mean, that's the best thing I saw on the show floor the whole
Now, have you actually demoed that product? Do you have the same leverage?
You know,
that
I have not demoed it. I'm actually worried about getting it dirty because it's just gorgeous.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's the Park Tool always has very imaginative model numbers. This is the SPK1,
I spent 4 hours trying to come up with something good.
and he brought this
you
right to me.
had
brought a
to show
spork.
a spork.
I brought a spork.
Okay, the credibility just went right out the door.
It's awesome. Your turn.
Well, working for Lazer, of course, I have to bring something from Lazer, but nice little product that we have called the Cappuccino Lock. So, obviously, it's not going to replace a U-lock. It's not going to provide an extreme amount of security for your bike. But if you do stop at the coffee shop for 5 minutes or you stop for a drink after the group ride, this allows you to use your helmet as a locking device. You can either secure your helmet to your bike, keep somebody from walking away with your helmet, or you can even run the helmet straps through your wheel, keep somebody from rolling away with your bike. But you basically pop off the top end, open up the buckle of your helmet, attach the male and female ends to the Cappuccino Lock, spin the combination, and you will not be able to pinch open those buckle parts of your helmet lock until you reset the combination to the right code. Then you can open it up. And
That's an awesome idea.
yeah. So it's something small you can put in your jersey pocket or your messenger bag or
It does
put
weigh
in
9
your
pounds.
Exactly.
behind you.
So it's not going to replace a U-lock.
Yeah.
It's not going to provide an extreme amount of security. It's just going to keep people from walking away. The Lone Ranger and friend.
Why is the Lone Ranger on this one?
It's just going to keep somebody from walking away with your helmet or you're rolling your bike down the sidewalk.
This is a great idea because I do that when I stop for, to refill my water bottles or
Yeah.
whatever. I take my helmet straps and I put them through the wheels. Just one of those little deterrents. But now to be able to lock it.
Yep. You can actually have a code. We
There's no
have a
weight.
website, I believe it's cappuccinolock.com. You can register your email address along with the code, so should you forget the code or you tie one or two extra on at the bar and for whatever reason you're spacing on your code, you can enter that email address. It'll email you back your code. You can open up the lock and be on your way.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Cappuccino Lock.
That's awesome. You've got more.
Well, I that was the practical. Here's something a little more exotic, but this is Reynolds Aero 46. Not necessarily the most unique name for an Aero wheel, but one of the things that strikes me is this one here. A lot of what you see nowadays is the more blunt, rounded, trailing edge. That's all the rage. Whereas Paul Liu and the Reynolds team it's actually a very sharp point on the end here, and kind of going against the current grain. But their DET, which I believe is dispersive edge technology, what it does is that one of the big drawbacks of Aero wheels that people complain about a lot, and I used to work for an Aero wheel company, is that the crosswinds and the unstable feeling blow you off the road, whereas this, along with being an incredibly fast wheel, also minimizes, and because of the shape of the rim and that DET, it actually moves the center of gravity of force when the crosswind comes forward of the hub to make it more stable. Wow. And so it does make for a very fast but also very stable wings. I know as many people as I've talked to, and I'm a bigger, heavier rider than typical. I've never really had that issue, but a lot of people feel that that's a problem. So the Reynolds Aero line addresses
that. Say that last part again. I enjoyed that. That you're a bigger, heavier rider?
That 185?
Music to my ears. 185.
And then I know it's a big issue. They worked a lot, and I know there's another issue of Byron, kind of rails on the fact that some of the carbon wheel manufacturers with the carbon clincher designs have designed specific pads to go with specific rim. But that's something to take the technology into safety seriously. They have developed their own blue pad that works specifically the two, and they've upgraded this year to the new Cryo Blue Power to supposedly, but again, just purely for that safety and that confidence, because there was a big issue the last couple of years talking about the safety. Are carbon clinchers safe or not? Are they going to melt on you? And really the guys at Reynolds and Paul Liu, who really was one of the inventors of the carbon clincher, have done a lot of work in making that aspect of it safer. I know Byron had issues with the fact that it's specific and someone might not pay attention, but it really does make a difference. I know a lot of the manufacturers are doing that as well, use a specific pad. So that's the Reynolds Cycling 46 Aero wheel.
We're not going to get to see the other products you brought because we're out of time. You want to show them real quick? Can you do it in 30 seconds or less?
Well, it's just...
do it quick, come on. Chris has to go.
It's along with the spirit of the electric bikes. This is one of Turn's folding bikes, but it's their sort of extreme commuter bike. It's got fenders built in, racks built in. It's got one of the most awesome, easy to use, but really solid folding mechanism. The latches, you don't feel any flex. It's got dynamos, it's got disc brakes. So for about $2,200, it's a really...
Bring it over here, sort of
in front of Moss.
In front of Moss, so that the camera can get that, because that's a gorgeous bike.
Yeah, it is. Really it's
and it's big enough you don't feel like you're on a smaller bike.
Yeah,
and it's got a larger size wheel. Typically, the folding bikes have really small wheels, and there's a lot of people that get turned off of the fact that it's a smaller wheel or it's a larger rider. So
sorry, I'm just trying to see what size those wheels are. They're big.
Yeah, so they were joking. This is kind of like the 29er or the 27.5 of the folding bike world. A little bit bigger, behaves more like your traditional, standard size wheel bike. But when you fold it, it's still super practical. You can bring it upstairs. You can put it in a closet, put it in the back of your car. It's just a really practical bike. This one here, the way it's spec'd out like this, is about $2,200 suggested retail.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So
excellent, Rich. You did an excellent job finding show and tell. You get a gold star for the day and an extra 5 minutes at nap time. Very nicely done. Hey guys, sorry it's a short show, but it is Interbike, and I want to thank you guys for joining us. I will start down here. Tell everybody who you are and where you can be found.
Chris Smith with Lazer Sport. You can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter, helmeteer_Chris. Also, helmeteering.tumblr.com. You just search Lazer Sport, Chris Smith, you'll find me a number of different sites.
And if you're racing against him, you'll probably only see his back. So,
except for those 11 guys that finished ahead of me last
But
time.
How many other guys were racing? A lot.
It's a big field.
That's what I'm saying.
Are you racing tonight?
No,
No,
I'm good for one effort per Interbike.
Excellent. Thank you for joining
Not
us.
in the booth either. It's after the show.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Dave.
Jim
Jim Moss. Twitter is Recreation Law. Just search Recreation Law or recreation-law.com. You can find me.
You have more email addresses than anybody I know.
I have one for each personality.
Very nicely done. Rich.
Rich Schelling with the MBDA, the National Bike Dealers Association. You can go to mbda.com. There's nothing really fun there for the general public, but I'm on Twitter, Rich_Kelly, Google+, just.
And we had a topic sort of dealer related that we will save for the next episode of The Spokesman when you're on again, which we'll talk about because we were talking about that yesterday. And
there is a lot of talk going on
I know,
about.
And I definitely want to talk about that, so there's a tease for all of you. I'm David from the Fredcast Cycling Podcast. You can find me on Twitter simply at Fredcast. My website's thefredcast.com. I'm also on Facebook and all those other places that everybody else is. Not very much on Google+, but there you go. But this is the Spokesmen Cycling Roundtable Podcast, or Semicircle Podcast. And you can find us, info about us, show notes at www.the-spokesmen.com. Guys, always a pleasure to have you. Always great to see you in person.
Absolutely.
The thing is, what makes the Spokesman fun is that we're all friends, and so to get together in person just makes it even more worthwhile. So thank you. You're our friends also. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying subscribed, telling your friends and cycling buddies about the Spokesmen Cycling Roundtable Podcast. We're out of here. But between this show and the next, the Spokesmen have spoken. So long, everybody.